Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You notice how every single week over the last however many years has been distraction after distraction. Every single week, every single month is some big news headline or story. Donald Trump this, Stormy Daniels that, Russia, Russia, Russia. Of course, this week's story is Joe Biden's inflammatory rhetoric and his despicable, evil presidential address. Well, what I think people really need to realize is that it's all one massive distraction. I called it a distraction for a reason, because that is literally exactly what it is. The Democrats will do anything to distract from the actual facts of whatever the situation may be. And the current situation, of course, is Joe Biden's failed leadership and presidency. And so the goal is to distract from their clear failures. I mean, even CNN political analysts are able to see that.
But first and foremost, John, it is political. They're trying to sort of turn the criticism and focus away from the Democratic Party of concerns about the economy, inflation, gas prices.
And so in times like these, it's incredibly important to not get distracted. Folks, the news cycle moves too quickly. And you know what? That's benefit to the Democrats. Actually, that's the game that they play. Because whatever was a scandal last week, last month, 6 months ago, a year ago, almost 2 years ago, well, it actually still remains. The initial event that saw Joe Biden's approval rating crater into the ground at first wasn't the fall of Kabul or the fall of Afghanistan. It was the southern border. And even though it's been almost 2 years since Joe Biden's southern border crisis started, and Kamala Harris, Joe Biden's border czar, took on the task of tackling the root causes of migration, well, of course, absolutely nothing has changed. And it really just goes to show the double standard and how Democrats are never held accountable for their policies, their rhetoric, and of course their failures. Here's another example as Joe Biden is currently getting away with murder, and of course I mean that literally. Well, we're gonna do everything in our power to make sure that Joe Biden doesn't get away with it. Because folks, Joe Biden's deadly border crisis continues and rages on. But of course, people are too distracted by whatever Kim Kardashian is doing and whatever CNN and MSNBC are reporting on to open their eyes to the policy failure of the Biden regime. Let me show you guys what's going on. Of course, we've got some stuff to talk about, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends, so let's first start off with the double standard. The southern border was a huge point of contention under Donald Trump, not only for just a day, not a day in the news cycle, but for years. Many fake news publications posting pictures of children in cages from the Obama regime, claiming that it was all Donald Trump's doing, and the outrage over Donald Trump's family separation policies was of course one of the top topics of discussion, like I stated, for years, even though that policy was implemented to save children from human trafficking rings, to ensure that the individual accompanying said children was actually a legal guardian or family member. But it was nothing but outrage. Southern border crossings at the time were relatively low, the problem was relatively insulated. Border Patrol was on top of things, the problem was at least sustainable, much more so than in previous years, but it was nothing but outrage. And of course, all the southern border problems were all Donald Trump's fault and Donald Trump's doing. That was the standard. Well, now, fast forward to 2022, the southern border is in true crisis, and we hear absolutely nothing. Unless people really start making noise, unless there's a seriously big story, or unless the news cycle is just dead and there's nothing else to talk about. In other words, there's no distraction. You don't hear a peep about the southern border, even though what just happened at the southern border can only be described as a tragedy. And this is what I mean by Joe Biden has literal blood on his hands. Border Patrol warns illegal migrants about, quote, extreme conditions after 9 drownings. Following the drownings of 9 illegal immigrants that attempted to cross the Rio Grande River into the United States, Border Patrol officials are pleading for migrants not to attempt the journey. According to Fox News, Customs and Border Protection (CBP) Chief Patrol Agent Jason Owens of the Del Rio sector released a warning to those who are attempting to make the journey, attributable to Chief Patrol Agent Jason Owens, Del Rio sector, U.S. Border Patrol. This is a warning of extreme importance. The currents of the Rio Grande have become more dangerous due to recent and continuing rainfall, and more rain is forecasted for the coming week. Despite these adverse conditions, U.S. Border Patrol Del Rio sector continues to encounter large groups of more than 100 to 200 plus attempting to cross the Rio Grande daily. To date, at least 9 individuals have lost their lives over the last few days attempting to cross this area. In an effort to prevent further loss of life, we are asking everyone to please avoid crossing illegally. Folks, this is Joe Biden's doing, and we know that because Border Patrol are essentially saying it themselves. Border Patrol chief makes telling admission about Biden's immigration policies, quote, increases when there are no consequences. And of course, we know exactly what that means. There are no consequences when it comes to illegal migration under the Biden administration. And while it sounds sounds all warm and fuzzy inside. No human being is illegal, all this open border nonsense. At the end of the day, it's a naive liberal policy decision that cynical Democrat politicians use to emotionally manipulate voters into voting for them that has clearly deadly results. There was total outrage over Donald Trump's southern border, and now in just the span of a couple days, 9 people have been lost, and that's just an estimate. We don't even know the total figure just in the last couple of days, and the mainstream media doesn't even care. That just goes to show you exactly who these people are, these people who are constantly feigning virtue. Oh, they care so much. Clearly, they only care enough to make a political point, and beyond that, they're totally content enabling this situation that is leading to catastrophic loss of life. Don't ever let a Democrat look down on you from a tower of perceived self-righteousness, compassion, and virtue. This is despicable, and it is their doing. And it's the same thing when it comes to all the fentanyl coming over the border. Liberal policies enable the entire situation, and we're talking about tens of thousands of people losing their lives to overdoses every year. They say Black Lives Matter, and we're looking at thousands upon thousands of young black men, and in some cases women and children, being gunned down indiscriminately in Democrat cities. They don't say a peep, they don't say a word because they don't care. They make their little political talking points and attack ads with their twisted logic and twisting of the facts, and don't really have a care in the world when it comes to the actual human suffering that they are at the core of. And the question is, where's Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris is, after all, the border czar that visited the Northern Triangle when the media was covering the issue of the border, only after, I don't know, what was it, like a month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months of people questioning, where's Kamala Harris? When's she gonna visit Mexico? When's she gonna visit the southern border? Finally, there was enough political pressure for her to visit the Northern Triangle. Then, of course, instead of visiting the Rio Grande, she went to El Paso, Texas, which isn't even the core of the border issue. She said very simply,
"Do not come. Do not come."
and then completely disappeared, never addressed the situation ever again, and the president of Guatemala went publicly on the record claiming that Kamala Harris hasn't even returned a single phone call from him for over a year. The compassionate left strikes again. There is blood on their hands. 2022 is another record-setting year of illegal crossings and apprehensions. There's now a study claiming that the US-Mexico border is now the most dangerous land crossing in the world. We're talking about so many people that are losing their lives every single year. I mean, we don't know the exact figure, but it's got to be really terrible, and it's got to be a lot worse than what's being reported. It all falls on Joe Biden's lap. Absolutely, that is undeniable. He's done nothing about it except further exacerbate the issue with all of his empty promises and ridiculous rhetoric. And we know this to be the case because people in the caravans are wearing Biden-Harris t-shirts, and illegal immigrants being bussed across the nation are walking off the buses saying, "Thank you, Joe Biden," as they get let off in Washington, D.C. and New York and other states. But of course, even though we know it's Joe Biden's fault, he is never held to account because of all the media distractions, and frankly the distraction game that Joe Biden himself is playing. He doesn't actually believe that MAGA Republicans are a fascist threat. It's merely a campaign tool, just like CNN said, to drum up all kinds of controversy and to have people talking about anything but the economy that continues to crater, the cost of living, cost of homes, cost of grocery and energy, of course the inflation crisis, the fall of Afghanistan and the rest of the chaos going on across the globe when it comes to his foreign policy failures, and of course the southern border. Anything but that, because that is where the Democrats lose. Don't get distracted, folks. 9 people just drowned trying to cross Joe Biden's open border, and that right there should be a massive headline that people are talking about. All I know is that if the same standard that applied to Donald Trump applied to Joe Biden's approval rating would probably be like 15%. The Brandon regime is indefensibly corrupt. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get back to work, though. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.